I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
That was Vice President Kamala Harris, the Democratic candidate of the 2024 presidential election here in the United States. It was the first speech she made as she conceded to the defeat against Republican presidential candidate, former President Donald J. Trump. Hello and welcome to Our Voices. I'm Oriani Tangishaka here in Washington, D.C., a few steps from where in just 2 months, the 47th President of the United States of America will be sworn in, and that will be Donald J. Trump. It was also the 100 years later after women won the right to vote in America, according to a recent CBS News reporting. 24 women in the history of the United States have attempted to reach the Oval Office so far unsuccessfully. Thus, it's seemingly a very long journey for female candidates to see electoral parity towards the office of the presidency as they campaign against men. Why has this been so in the history of the United States of America? Today, we analyze and discuss the result of the 2024 U.S. presidential election. As usual, I'm here with my colleagues, Ginny Niwa and Siminish Yakoye. Also joining us in studio is our very own White House correspondent, Anita Powell. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
I want to begin quickly with the co-host and get your reaction to the 2024 elections, and maybe you also, our viewers online. What are your thoughts on the fact that a woman did not win the presidency this 2024 in the election?
Well, I can't say she lost just because she's a woman, but I do think it's one of the factors. I mean, the fact that this country still needs to make a lot of progress when it comes to women empowerment and equality, and the fact that the U.S. had 46 presidents and they just elected 47th one, and none of them are women. I think that speaks by itself. But if you look at the numbers, more women voted for Kamala than Trump, right? But they are less than the woman who voted for Hillary Clinton or for Biden. And for me, I think that that could be, for example, her campaign focused more on abortion to get the women voters, right? But it turned out that women were actually more worried about inflation and the economy, just like men. And also, if you think about it, she came into this race at the very last minute. She barely had time to prove herself to her voters, to the people. I think that had an effect, and also the disapproval rate of the Biden administration, which she was also part of, I think also overshadowed her. So there are multiple factors to why she might have lost, in addition to being a woman, which is also, a factor in my opinion.
Yeah. What do you think? Was it because she was a woman, America's not ready for women, or what do you think?
That was my first thought. I remember thinking, well, America do not want a woman president. But like Siminish said, there were so many factors. This year, this campaign, they know, the American people knew what they wanted. They wanted to have purchase power, economy. And I feel like President Trump was very focused on that. No matter how he was talking about it, he was very straight on, I will do this with your taxes, whatever he was saying, he was very focused. And I think abortion wasn't a very strong point to make. And America didn't know her, they knew Trump.
Correct.
They knew what to expect.
And before I go to Anita, I'm just going to quickly say what I think. I think there was 3 things. I think the fact that she came into the race a bit late, there was a little bit of policy flip-flop. I'm not sure if the campaign wasn't ready for her to be the nominee or whatever. There was a policy flip-flops where it wasn't clear what exactly she stood for in the beginning, before we even knew about her focusing so much on abortion. Number 2 was using abortion, as you said. I think that because we know that historically speaking, women are a big voting bloc in America, she went for that. but that was not what was on people's mind. Whether it be a man or women, Latinos, blacks, everybody was really focused on abortion and on the economy, and she missed that. And I think abortion was just part of something that women worry about, but not so much at the moment. Yeah. The last thing, you know, I grew up here, I was educated here, I learned a new word salad. I think there was a disconnect between probably what the campaign was telling her to say and what she was saying. There was a lot of word salad. I mean, she spoke a lot, but you didn't understand what she was saying. But I think she got better in the end of her campaign. So the first 2 months was really bad, I think. But she got better. She began to understand what she needed to project, and she got better, but I think it was too late.
And honestly speaking, you know, the way she jumped in at the last minute, the fact that she accepted to get into this race when she had only like 100 or something days, I think that shows her strength.
There was a lot of politics in the Democratic Party, but
maybe she got into it. She was willing to do that.
She put her hands up. Let me bring in Anita Powell, who has traveled with her, who knows her a little bit more than we do. Anita, welcome to the set. Thank you so much for coming in. What do you think, Anita, happened? Why don't we have a woman president today?
So I appreciate that you're all focusing on the issues, and I do think that a lot of voters were driven by issues. But another thing I want to highlight is I think both campaigns presented radically different visions of idealized femininity. And we saw that mostly with the Trump campaign and with Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and his presentation of the ideal role of women. His denigration of childless cat ladies as being less than. And also, I don't know if you remember this, but his reference to postmenopausal women and the only role that they could fill being that of childcare, unpaid childcare specifically. Whereas anybody who has performed childcare understands and knows that childcare is hard work. It's a job.
But I think we should expect that. The men are going to bring some feminist
but couple that, couple those, I think it's fair to call them old-fashioned beliefs with the systemic inequalities that those are grounded in. And you mentioned that women have had the right to vote for 100 years, and I'm going to correct you on that. 1965 is when the United States passed the Civil Rights Act, which gave black women the right to vote.
But so white women had that right way before that, right?
But all women got the right to vote in 1965. And if we're going by the formulation of Nelson Mandela, the one man, one vote, the proverbial one man, one vote, one person, one vote, this country was not a full democracy.
But we should have been at least a white woman president, right? White women should just represent all women.
Still, women are missing from the picture.
The systemic issues that are underpinning this, that are underlying underneath this presentation of the trad wife as the idealized version of femininity and the childless cat lady as being bad and toxic, are that women make 84 cents for every dollar a man makes in the United States of America, arguably one of the most equal societies in the world. Of the balance of senators, 100 senators, 25 are women, 1/4, although women are half of the population. They're also just 1/4 of representatives in the House.
Underrepresented.
And there are 8% of police officers in the United States, 12% of police officers, 8% of CEOs, yet there's no conflict or contradiction in the fact that women overwhelmingly hold arguably the most important, delicate, complicated, most undercompensated, difficult, complex, dangerous job in America, and that is school teacher. 77% of American school teachers.
We'll come back. We'll continue this conversation. So the United States is gearing up for a transfer of power, with President Joe Biden congratulating President-elect Donald Trump on his victory and Vice President Kamala Harris conceding defeat. White House Bureau Chief Patsy Widakuswara has this report from Howard University, where Harris delivered her speech. Let's take a look.
The moment Vice President Kamala Harris conceded her defeat to President-elect Donald Trump came Wednesday afternoon at Howard University, her alma mater and election watch party venue. Unlike Trump, Harris had committed weeks ago to respect the election result. She said it's a fundamental principle of American democracy.
We owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign.
Earlier, Harris called to congratulate Trump and discuss the importance of a peaceful transfer of power and being a president for all Americans, her campaign said. The Trump campaign said the president-elect acknowledged Harris for her strength, professionalism, and tenacity throughout the campaign, and both leaders agreed on the importance of unifying the country. The White House said President Joe Biden called both candidates and will address the nation Thursday to discuss the election results and the transition. In her remarks, Harris sought to comfort her staff and supporters.
Only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. I know many people feel like we are entering a dark time, but for the benefit of us all, I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing, America, if it is, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant, brilliant billion of stars. The light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service.
Harris' speech marked an extraordinary moment reminiscent of 2016, when another female candidate, Hillary Clinton, conceded defeat to Trump. 2,000 Harris supporters had stayed past midnight on election night Tuesday. The mood grew more somber as more and more states were called for Trump. As they watched Harris deliver her concession speech Wednesday, many were emotional.
I woke up crying. I left the rally last night crying. Now I'm feeling hopeful. I'm feeling restored. There's a long road ahead, but I feel like it's not the end of the road.
She gave us a little bit of hope to continue to work, on yourself, on your community, and to focus. And I'm actually happy the fact that she ended on that note.
The people have spoken. We need to respect that. This is democracy, and we have to keep fighting.
Trump won 292 Electoral College votes to Harris' 224. He declared victory in the early hours of Wednesday, thanking his supporters.
They came from all corners, union, non-union, African American, Hispanic American, Asian American, Arab American, Muslim American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment.
Harris' concession speech marked the end of a whirlwind campaign that began when Biden withdrew from the race in June. From Howard University, Patsy Kuswara, VOA News, Washington.
Thank you, Patsy, for that report. So, Anita, you covered Vice President Harris both here and on the continent. So I'm going to ask you this. Some critics say that in the last 4 years, she has been absent from the scene, which shows or proves that she's incompetent. As someone who knows her maybe better than, those of us here, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
So, as you mentioned, I accompanied Vice President Harris on her three-nation tour of Africa. We went to Ghana, Tanzania, and Zambia. And on each stop, this was a grueling itinerary. And on each stop, we faced different issues. Yeah. And she had to switch gears and talk about security in Ghana, democratization and women leadership in Tanzania, and then debt restructuring in Zambia. And my head was spinning. So to say that she doesn't have a grasp of very complex policy issues or doesn't have the capability to communicate those on behalf of the United States, I did not see that. That was not my experience seeing that. Add to that she's been to, I think, 2 or 3 Munich security conferences, which are the premier talk shops for European and global security. She's been on numerous diplomatic engagements. So in terms of outward-facing work, which we primarily cover at VOA, just the interactions with the world, no, I don't think she was uninvolved at all. I think
also, she was, district attorney. She was a senator.
Right.
So it's not
There's
new. The leadership is not new for her, right?
Correct. But I want to bring back to the perception that people have of women in America, because we have seen 7 women president on the continent. In fact, we have 1 right now in Tanzania. And I'm thinking, Anita, perhaps society in Africa sees them as competent and all of that, so they're voting for them. In the U.S., do you think that women are perceived differently? Maybe the way they handle themselves, maybe the way they handle things. Why do you think that there's no election parity to bring a woman to power in the U.S.?
I mean, it's very convenient to blame women's lack of success on women, but the facts don't stand up to that. I mean, right now in the United States, women are gaining on men in terms of educational attainment at all levels. Women are still behind men in terms of educational attainment at the postgraduate level. As I mentioned, we trust women to be caretakers, to be doctors, to be teachers, to do some of the most difficult jobs, the most sensitive jobs in society. And so it doesn't really make sense that we are a society that, on the one hand, trusts women to perform surgery, to take care of our most, and I can't stress this enough, our most precious asset, which is our children.
Correct.
Right? Day to day, most school teachers are female in the United States, as in elsewhere in the world.
Could it be because it's a global position more so than a presidential position, and then we held that to the very highest extent, or very highest, I guess, regards? That the women in America, they're not just a president, but they're also the global leader, maybe?
No, I think world leaders all have to take on that mantle, and other countries, not just African countries, have had female leaders. And, to be clear, there have been female leaders who have been widely regarded as excellent, groundbreaking. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in Liberia is one whose legacy, I think, will stand up. And then there are others who are much more controversial. I'm thinking of Margaret Thatcher. I'm thinking of maybe, I don't want to get in trouble here, but like Golda Meir, for example, in Israel has a divided legacy. So on and so forth. Women are capable of being excellent leaders and also not great leaders, just like men are capable of being excellent leaders and not great leaders.
That's a good response.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anita, for your insight on Vice President Kamala Harris. It is now time for a short break. As usual, we ask you to share your thoughts on this topic on our social media platform at VOA Africa. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Use the hashtag VOA Our Voices. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
Do you think America is ready for a female president?
I don't know that they would ever be ready, but the time is ready.
I'm from the UK. We had a female leader, we've had multiple female leaders, and we're 100% behind her, in our opinion, as much as our opinion counts. And she's brilliant. I think what she stands for is solid, and to have a black woman in charge.
I just feel like she's not somebody that I can stand behind and be proud to say that I support what she believes, as a single Christian woman. I believe that who we should be voting for is whoever is most in line with what the Lord wants for America.
I believe that she is about unity and that she will protect my rights as a woman, and I'm very excited to have our first female president.
I think even if they're not ready, you better get ready, because we're getting ready to show up and show out.
Welcome back to help us look deep into women's journey towards taking a seat at the table at the United States throne, which is also called the White House. We are joined here in studio by Philomena Desmond-Ogugua, the co-national chair of the Harris-Walz campaign for African diaspora in the United States of America. She is also the co-founder for the United Ethnic Women for Harris-Walz, and also to reflect on Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign strategy amid the other female heads of states around the world who have broken the glass ceiling. We have with us Dr. Cassandra Veney, Executive Director of Howard University's Center for Women, Gender, and Global Leadership, who is joining us via Zoom from Washington, D.C. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, let me start with Dr. Cassandra Veney. Let's begin with you. What went wrong with what some thought was going to be a historic time for a first female president in America? Dr. Desmond, can you hear me?
Let me back up and just correct one thing. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to back up real quickly to correct one thing that was said earlier. The Congressional Act that gave all women and all people the right to vote in this country was not the Civil Rights Act. It was the Voting Rights Act that was passed in 1965. So I just want to make sure our listeners or your listeners know that. In terms of what went wrong, I can't necessarily say something went wrong because in my opinion, I was not disappointed. I expected it. And I'll tell you why. If something were going to go wrong, then we would have to look at an electoral system that didn't exist. So what you really had was an electoral system where the president is elected by the Electoral College. And it's a situation where that particular electoral system simply did not allow her to win. So again, it's not necessarily that something went wrong, it's the nature of the beast. We all heard time and time again, and it's true. She had a narrow pathway to get to that 270 votes, and she simply was not able to get that pathway. She had to get Michigan, she had to get Pennsylvania, she had to get Wisconsin, and that simply was not viable.
I do agree with you. You do have both the electoral and the popular vote, which she didn't win. You're right.
Yeah.
So
let me ask Dr. Ms. Desmond-Ogugua, what was the Democratic campaign strategies? For example, we know that Vice President Harris was pushing the abortion agenda, but some question whether it was the best, move at all, or whether it led her to downfall. What do you say about that?
The strategy of the Democratic Party itself?
Yes, pushing abortion as the main agenda to get the woman voters.
Personally, my opinion, the abortion agenda and the LGBT agenda, to me, is obsolete. And they pushed it too much. It was, these days, women are facing their careers. There is birth control. Nobody is going to abortion clinic. They shouldn't make it their agenda. People are looking for food, employment, safety, and gender he, she, her is not working. This is a Christian nation. And most people, the African community that I come from, most of them that didn't go out to vote or voted the other way is because of that.
While human rights is important, the economy weighed more in terms of what people care about.
I think they should care about the realities of today, not the realities of the past.
Yeah. So, Dr. Cassandra, Miss Desmond, she's mentioning abortion is issue of the past. So what advice can you give to women in America as they seek the highest position in the land?
Hello, Dr. Desmond. Dr. Cassandra, could you hear us?
The advice I would give them would be
think we might be. Yeah, I think we're having a bit of technical difficulties.
Maybe
there.
we can pass the question to you. What do you think women should do or focus on to make sure that they end up in leadership positions?
Women should focus on family values, family issues, because focus on what they're teaching their children in school these days. Because when I found out what is being taught, you know, some people come home confused what gender they are and all that.
Because of what they're being taught.
Taught in school. This shouldn't be curriculum. They should teach them how to be astronauts, how to be doctors, lawyers, not to be how to be he, she, we, no.
Do you think diversity and a lot of the human rights topics have overshadowed other topics that are today's topics, like you said, astronaut, technology and all of that?
Yes, diversity, it depends on how you define diversity. Diversity to me is not all that is written, you know. Yeah. Also,
so you are saying the reality,
yes,
which is the economy,
what is happening now.
Is more important.
People want to be safe in their home. People want to have jobs.
Yes.
People want to have good health care.
Yes.
Yes. People,
and I think what you're saying, that there was a disconnect.
There's a disconnect with the middle class also.
Right. That is it for today. Unfortunately, our time is not on our side. We hope the show shed light on the 2024 election result and the state of women's electability to the White House in the United States. Thanks to our guests, our very own White House correspondent, Anita Powell, and of course, Dr. Cassandra Veney, Executive Director of Howard University Center for Women, Gender and Global Leadership, and of course, Mrs. Philomena, who is here with us, Desmond-Ogugua, National Chair of the Harris-Walz Campaign for African Diaspora in the United States of America. For the latest news surrounding the U.S. presidential election, go to voa.com. Thank you so much.